Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the presentation by the Polish Centrum PPP on the current situation and future opportunities for PPPs in Poland. I'm Andrea Stucchi, a member of WAPP's steering committee. I'm currently chairing WAPP's European PPP chapter. Just before we begin, allow me to share a few details regarding this session. This session is being recorded and will be available following the annual Congress. Please do use the Q&A box, which is on the right hand of your screen, to ask questions to our panelists. This session will last approximately 30 minutes, and some time will be allocated at the end of the session to address any questions that the attendees to this session might have. Last and most importantly, our distinguished panelists today include Mr. Bartosz Mizerowski. So Mr. Bartosz is the Chief Executive Officer of the Polish Centrum PPP. Centrum PPP is a non-profit organization that builds the capacity of the Polish PPP market. Bartosz is currently working as a consultant for the World Bank as well, and is a member of the European Chapter Leadership Committee. Welcome, Bartosz.
Hello everybody. Thank you.
We then have Ms. Kamila Kroll. Ms. Kamila Kroll is the founder of the PPP Leaders Forum in Poland. PPP Leaders Forum drives collaboration for industry executives, field experts, and thought leaders in the field of PPPs. Welcome, Kamila.
Thank you. Hi.
And we then have Mr. Wladek Skorko. Mr. Skorko is an ex-banker and project and infrastructure finance advisor. He's currently serving as a principal consultant to INC worldwide. He advised in post-communist transitional economies, as well as countries ranging from Afghanistan to China and Belize to Uganda. Welcome, Wladek.
Hi.
Okay, Bartosz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the invitation to speak. I will take the floor for the next 25 minutes or so to share my view on the current situation and future opportunities for the Polish PPP market. I do hope that there will be questions in the Q&A session after our presentation. Let's start with the numbers. Since 2009, there have been more than 600 announcements on PPP and concession. Out of it, nearly 170 contracts, PPP and concession contracts, were signed already. So it's at the effectiveness success ratio at the level of 25-26%. In the recent years, the success rate has been higher, but since 2009, as a total number, it's 25%. The aggregated value of the contract signed is nearly 2 billion euro, which is not impressive if you compare to the other European countries. But when you consider that Poland is just starting with PPP, it's impressive enough, I would say. In terms of the projects that has been signed, in terms of numbers, you can see energy efficiency projects. That's the projects that has been improving energy efficiency in public buildings like schools, hospitals, kindergartens, etc. Public buildings in general. But also sport and tourism projects as well are visible in the if you look at the list of contracts signed. There have been many ideas for the projects for sports and leisure, but not that many contracts signed. But it's a story for another meeting, I would say. There have been also projects in transport infrastructure, broadly speaking, not only roads, but also other ways of delivering transport services in infrastructure. But also we witnessed many projects in water, sewage, water management in general. If you look at the value of the projects, you'll see, no surprise, transportation projects, but also ICT projects, broadband internet network done by the regions in Poland, including European funds, but also, and in particular, waste management projects. The largest contracts in Poland, including projects like Poznań incineration plant, or currently under construction projects in Gdańsk or Olsztyn. One of the characteristics of the Polish PV market is that the vast majority of the projects are done at the local, municipal, or regional level. So the value of the projects is not that impressive. As I checked the list of 170 contracts, nearly 80% of the contracts are of the value not exceeding 10 million euros. So it's rather small local projects, but also you can see bigger projects. Largest projects we witnessed in the last 15 years, it's as I mentioned, the incineration plant in Poznań, which is currently operational and really well performing. We also signed a contract in Gdańsk and Olsztyn. Currently, those two projects are under construction, and those are two incineration plant, but with a component of energy. So it's a waste to energy projects. We've seen the contract just recently signed in Krakow. It's a light rail tram, in fact, a part of the city network in Krakow, which is currently financially closing. So many projects that has been considered in cities like Wrocław or Poznań will be using this experience of Krakow to prepare their projects. I believe so. We have some urban regeneration, revitalization projects like Gdańsk project that has been working well, and those are the largest projects we have done so far in Poland. But many of them are coming to the market as we speak. But I'll say a few words in a second, in the next slides. I decided to share with you also common mistakes we've done for the last years. We've done as a public authority done in the last years. Many mistakes were made, and Supreme Chamber of Control indicated some of them, investigating the Polish PV market twice in 2013 and 2020. And as you can see, it's aggregated. So lack of proper analysis, lack of market testing, one of the prime major mistakes done by public authority. As I see now, we are not, public authorities are not doing these mistakes anymore. The other mistakes worth mentioning is unrealistic expectations of public authority regarding private partner. Well, some of the public authorities tend to think that private partner is a Santa Claus that will design, build, finance, and operate on infrastructure, and then maybe earn some money delivering services. But this is not partnership. This is not how it works. And I know that majority of you know that. So realistic expectations, market testing are those two things that have to be improved and have been improved, as I see it, in the last 5 years. The last thing I wanted to mention is ineffective management of PPP contracts, which was mentioned by the Supreme Chamber of Control, indicating that public authorities in the last years have been preparing projects in a better way than they used to do it. But the challenge is lying in the operational phase: how to operate, how to control, how to monitor the process of delivering services is a real challenge, and we are currently tackling this challenge and learning how to do it properly. Success factors, well, plenty, but I decided again to select 3. Proper analysis, no doubt. I don't have to convince you that this is something that this is very, very important and crucial. So proper analysis and properly structuring the PPP deals are very, very important. Political championship. So people who will fight for the project at the political side at the time of project preparation, but also at the time of execution and then operation of the projects. This is very important, and I think that this is important not only in Poland but also in other geographics as well. And the third one is a payment mechanism, because at the beginning of the Polish PPP market, 2008, 2009, 2010, majority of public authorities were trying to structure projects in a concession way, so that the concessionaire is earning money from the final users using the infrastructure they created. But this is something, and even COVID indicated this, that this is a model that is very risky for private sector, and it's working only to some extent. And availability payment or mixed payment mechanism is a crucial to a success in PPP projects, and we have learned this even stronger. In a post-COVID time, post-COVID with a question mark. I will come back to this at the end of my presentation. In terms of projects that have been under dialogue or being prepared, I decided to mention Port of Gdynia, which is, in terms of size, the largest project so far planned. It is currently under competitive dialogue with the partners, dialoguing with public authority in order to structure the project so that they can file a final bids. So the capex is 800 million euro. So in terms of Polish, it's a Polish market is huge project. So fingers crossed for a successful here. We will be seeing this success. I do hope that this will be the case in next year or so. There is also a project of urban regeneration in Wrocław, a so-called social square, Plac Społeczny, that is being analyzed in order to be structured as PPP. But the decision have not been done yet. There have been also other projects that might be happening as PPPs, like National Archives. So it's a 5 buildings in 5 different locations done by the central government, and it's just been announced. And as I know from yesterday, 5 players have filed interest in this project. There have been some waste to energy projects still available to be delivered as PPP. One of it is waste to energy in Włocławek. There have been many projects of urban regeneration, revitalization, Gdańsk, Warsaw, Wrocław, as I mentioned. Plenty of projects in this regard considered to be done as PPP. We'll see, because they are under analyze in order to be structured as PPP, possibly. There have also been a stadium in Warsaw, Polonia, Warszawa, Polonia Warsaw Stadium, that has been was about to be launched as PPP. So we do believe that this will go as PPP, and we will see the interest from private sector. There are also projects that has not been mentioned here in the list, like light rail light rail in Poznań, tram line in Poznań. So if you are interested in many projects of those, just contact us. In terms of recent developments, well, Polish legal background has been reviewed and assessed in a positive manner. Very satisfactory results, and it's the benchmarking done by the World Bank. This is the report from the last 2 years, as I recall, and I believe that the legal framework and legal background is here in place in Poland, so that if you are interested in these projects, you will find a way to deliver this. In terms of development and recent development, Poland has just been informed by the European Commission that the recovery funds will be allocated to Poland. And it is said that some of the funds will be allocated to PPP projects in a so-called regional or sectoral envelopes. So some projects that might be delivered as PPP will have European funds available, either to public authorities that launch the projects, or to private partner who also might be a beneficiaries to this money, delivering public services to public authority and the people. And the last thing I wanted to mention, which is, in my opinion, very important, is that the government has been planning to update the PPP policy in Poland, which has been in place since 2017, as I recall. And this is something that is showing that the government is serious about the PPP in Poland. So the update will be done this year, and this is something that is expected by the market, but also expected by the public authorities as a way of showing that the government is seriously considering PPP. Okay, I decided to bring this slide on because of the international experience we witnessed as well, and some conditions that have to be met in order to develop PPP market in Poland, based on different geographies, different markets, not only Western European, but also Australia, Canada, North America in general. So, as you can see, necessary conditions: strong political support, political championship I mentioned, stable and friendly law, that is something that has to be in place when you consider to invest in long term. Predictable macroeconomic environment, which is difficult to define, especially now during the geopolitical situation, but also economic situation in Europe and in Poland in particular. So readiness and maturity of public sector, which is growing and should be soon in place, and reliable private partners is a kind of recipe for a success in PPP. But it goes to every location you can imagine in terms of PPP. Sufficient conditions are the conditions that might be met, but they are not crucial. So regional policies, sectoral policies that might be developed as a way forward to build capacity and create satisfactory conditions for the market to develop. Good practices, standard procedures, agreements patterns are those that standard documentation. It makes easier and shorter in time to prepare and execute PPP projects. That goes without saying. And system of popularization of PPP, good practices and success stories, but also failures of PPP, which is very important to learn from mistakes you made in country, but also learn from mistakes that other made. So this is something that has to be done. PPP post-COVID reality, well, it goes without saying that the public authority has stronger budget limitations, limited public budgets. Private capital, on the other hand, has stronger demand limitations. So the positive answer to this challenge may be partnership, public-private partnership, where the public authority has access to capital, access to know-how, which is very important. And if some of the projects are showing that the stabilization of the level of pricing is one of the benefits of using PPP, as well as the effective operation and usually higher quality of public services. Private sector, private partners, on the other hand, has got a chance to get stable long-term contract, confidence and stability of positive cash flows, which allows them to develop themselves in other aspects of economic activities. That's also change to apply innovation, which is very important, and easier access to financing because you are cooperating with reliable partner, which is public sector. This is a place where I share the floor with Włodek. Włodek, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bartosz. Bartosz presented quite a lot about where Poland stands with the PPP program right now. I think it's worth to put it in a little bit wider context. Poland occupies quite an interesting place in terms of economy and social development in the spectrum of nations. It's part of the Central Europe that went from the central plant economy to market economy, with all the transition involved in this, which we can write books about. But it sits somewhere in between the developed nations and the developing nations, with its own set of issues that needed to be addressed. And that obviously in the history that Bartosz just presented gives you the way Poland had to walk. And I must say, did it pretty well. Poland became kind of a success story in Central Europe, in the post-communist world, and it's being looked at by countries like Ukraine or other CIS countries as one of the templates or goals to be achieved. That includes the relationship between the public and private sector. There used to be, shall we say, historical distrust between both sides of the economy or social life. Both sectors, public and private, were looking at the other one historically very suspiciously, and each one was trying to outsmart the other one. And it transferred into the way this whole PPP process had to evolve, as I said, from the public-private conflict to private and public partnership. That partnership evolved quite a lot over the last 10 years, and I must say, it actually has taken a very nice shape. The enabling environment has been changed a number of times, has been developing, and it's still evolving. And again, it looks like it's evolving in the right direction. As you've noticed from Bartosz's presentation, a lot of the projects have went down to local governments, to municipalities. So it's widespread. It's not just driven by government. It's now a part of a spectrum of how public investments, public services are being considered for financing. Well, obviously there's a question, has Poland done well with it? Well, there's a little graph here showing, where Poland is in the region. And as you say, okay, it sits on top of it, but the interesting example is Turkey. And the question is, how much countries like Turkey and Poland can learn from themselves. As you've seen, you can see Turkey has been a success story, obviously, with the very quick economic growth, but also a very interesting approach to PPPs, which is quite opposite to what Poland has done. Poland went for, as Bartosz demonstrated, for quite a lot of small size municipally or locally based projects, whereas Turkey went for a little bigger and some mega projects included. And by simple statistics, Turkey achieved double the number of actually working PPPs, but their value is about 4 times higher than what Poland achieved. And as Bartosz said, the Polish government currently is focused on a couple of very big investment projects. Well, new central airport, some port, and some other big investment. Question is, whether any experiences Turkey had from the big projects, like say Istanbul airport, can be transferred to Poland. Well, there are opportunities, obviously, beyond infrastructure that have not been explored in Poland at all. You've seen it's mostly, as in most countries, they all start with the small, the low-hanging fruits, shall we say, transport, roads, motorways, power sector. Question is whether there's anything Poland can do in non-traditional PPP areas. And again, lessons might come from countries like UK, where we had prisons, we had schools, we had even some military projects that were in some format of PPP. Poland has created an environment where PPPs can be very flexible. There is enough of intellectual capacity in the country as well to develop this. So it looks almost like it's just a willingness to go and look into non-traditional areas. And especially now in the post-COVID and all this economic tensions we're having now, where private capital might be an interesting option for the government that is struggling with the budget controls. Someone yesterday said a number of times that in the world today, capital is not an issue. Projects are the issue. Good, bankable, investable projects. I would to add to this also is what we're missing is creation of templates, of PPP templates, especially if you look at the local government level of a smaller size projects, local hospitals, schools, that kind of things. If you create a template for a successful micro or small scale that can be replicated from one municipality to another, and I know Poland already has projects like this in schooling, for example. That it's much easier, it's much quicker process from conception of the project to the commercial and financial close, and much interesting to the financing parties as well. Can I next slide, Bartosz, maybe, please? So, just with a quick summary of this, the Polish experience, both positive and both negatives. Everybody makes mistakes. Poland has been good in rectifying these mistakes, and due to its unique position, as I've mentioned, in regards like sort of access to finance, blending that finance, access to local to public money, the access to local capital markets, access to all sorts of funds. Also, the Polish position here is quite unique because it's already a member of European Union. It has an access to all sorts of funds coming from that source. And blending of this can address a number of issues in terms of affordability of the projects. which still is an issue in Poland. We cannot have some easy responses as there might be in sort of more advanced countries, although the position is much better than, say, in the countries in Africa or Asia. The political and social aspects have been resolved and are being resolved. And we're seeing that these issues arise in countries sort of farther away, which are sort of a little lower on the development curve. And countries that come to mind are countries like ex-Soviet Union republics, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. They can learn a lot how to resolve these issues from sort of Polish experience. And generally speaking, the creation of an enabling environment. A lot of being talked about bankable project and everything, but if the widely understood enabling environment is not in place, you find out it's very, very difficult to push those projects through. Again, some of the experiences from Poland and other Central European countries might be worth studying and exploring. My final thoughts, having said all of this, is what happens with sharing of that Polish experience, sort of traveling around and working in a number of countries across two or three continents. I'm actually seeing very little of Polish experts and Polish experience being transferred. You see people from Asia, you see people from US, you see people from Western countries, but you're not seeing Polish advisors around. And I think this is a deficiency because Polish experts now have 10, 20 years of experience of actually walking the walk from where some of these countries are and when they want to be. And I would encourage exploitation of Polish expertise in that way. I think, I would like to leave you with that thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Wodek. And please, Kamila, the floor is yours because you wanted to say a few words about the initiative that is coming, World Urban Forum and Leaders PPP Forum that you are organizing. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you show the slide, please?
Sure.
Okay, so my name is Kamila. And first of all, I'd like to say that I'm very happy and honored to be here because I joined the World Association of PPP only 1 month ago. And normally I'm on the backstage because I only organize events. And I am the founder of Forum of the Leaders of PPPs conference in Poland, which is the only non-governmental conference in our market. And the event was established in 2016, and this year we have a 7th edition. And this edition is going to be special because we obtained the roles of side event of the World Urban Forum by the United Nations, which is going to take place in Katowice in Poland. And I would like to invite everyone to join the event in person. Otherwise, you can just, add me on LinkedIn or connect with the website. I'm going to share the website in questions and answers site. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Andrea, I'm looking at the time and the clock is ticking. Are we in line with the schedule?
Yes, we're just in line with the schedule. Thanks for asking, Bartos.
Okay.
And most of all, thank you to all the panelists for a most interesting presentation on the state of PPPs in Poland. We are getting a few questions on the Q&A box. So I'm just gonna turn to the panelists. The first question that we got from Miss Lucilla Spotorno from the Ministry of Transport in Mozambique, I believe. Ms. Spotorno is asking, what do you think would be the ingredients for a PPP to drive innovation? And I think Ms. Spotorno is referring to future disruptive technological changes before these can actually be foreseen by legislation.
Well, innovation in PPPs is a very interesting subject. This is very interesting question. My thoughts on innovation in PPP is that, well, you cannot put innovation in place without having risk on the board. So if you plan to drive innovation, risk is inevitable. PPP projects, there are markets in the world that recommends some of the sectors to be omitted using PPPs, like ICT in the UK, where you cannot predict or due to rapid development of the technology, you cannot structure the project in long term, and PPP projects are long term projects simply. I'm looking at the PPP as a way to drive innovation, because the private sector is looking to competitive advantages simply, and they are competing with ways to deliver services, public services, in the most effective, most optimal way. So I think that PPP is naturally the environment where you can use innovation to deliver expected results by the people, by the public authorities. I don't know, Lucila, if I have answered your question.
Answered. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Bartosz, for that. We have a second question, and Miss Alina Sarnaka. She's obviously, we've been talking a lot about what has been happening at the local level with small-scale PPPs in Poland, and her question is, what about the actions of the government at the central level? What is happening at the national level?
Well, Alina is right. The PPP unit within the Ministry of Funds has done a lot within the last years to build capacity and to build PPP market. I think that many actions are to come here still, but she's right that PPP unit has been done excellent job to build capacity, to encourage public authorities to consider PPP as one of the options. Our unit has been a partner to the ministry in some of the actions that took place in the last years. And this is it. I do hope that in the future the help to public authorities will be even broader, in a way that all the public authorities that are seeking support, especially at the level of creating an idea for the projects and structuring the project, analyzing the projects. So the help will be available and will be efficient enough to structure the projects fast enough to be on the market in the right way.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that answer, Mr. Bartosz.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to wait for a few seconds just to see if any other questions are going to come in. We have two very interesting questions. If anyone else has any questions, please do let us know. We have just a few minutes to the end of the session.
If you have any other questions, we will be available in the booths or in the tables in the networking area. So please join us if you have questions you didn't want to ask publicly. Maybe there are some. So we'll be available still.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is the end of this session. Thank you very much to our distinguished panelists for a most interesting presentation. and we're looking forward to seeing you later today.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
For sharing. See you around.